Hey guys, Phobia again. So I decided to do something new on the channel that I'm gonna try to do quite frequently. Is my opinions on hot fixes, changes, tuning, and also just to be able to update you guys on all that. So as you guys probably saw, that the hot fixes for next reset has come out with some tuning changes for certain classes. So first thing we got here is players deal 20% less damage to Demon Hunter or Death Knight, Hunter, and Warlock pets. Now, for me, I don't play a pet class, but I do know it's actually extremely easy, to kill Hunter's pets. Like, I dot up Hunter's pets all the time, and I just destroy them. Most Warlocks don't run with the pet, so it's not that big of a deal. And Death Knight pets, I feel like they can live for quite a while, but I can see where the issue could be specifically for Hunters. So, on the Hunter side of things, I see this being a extremely good quality of life issue for them, because, Death Knights, they can just res their pet again, right? It's just like, it's instant for them. So I don't think that's that big of a deal for them, but I guess if they do one, they got to do all, right? So for this, I just feel like it's going to make hunters a little bit more happy, especially BM hunters, or, if they're hunters running for Roar Sacrifice, that's a survival hunter. So that can be big for them, right? They're not having to worry about their pet dying so much. They can manage with men pet a little bit better, and not having to worry about dot cleave just destroying them passively. So I feel like that's a good thing. Next thing here we got here is in the 2v2 arena that dampening will start at 20% if both teams have a tank or a healer. This, I think, is awesome. Even though I don't play normally with healers, you guys know this. I normally play double DPS, but this actually makes games go quicker for people who do play, like, let's say warrior healer or death knight healer, or so on and so forth, because that means they're not sitting there for an extra minute or so trying to get a win. Because dampening is so short. So I think this is a good thing to just instantly start in when you're fighting like prop pally X versus healer X. So prop pallies have a little bit less healing right off the rip. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's a very good change. Druids. Okay, this is the big one, boys. We all know how much we hate Convoke, especially if you watch the AWC. You can see that it's so front loaded to the extent it's pretty broken. It's I mean, nothing against you boomkins out there. I know you guys probably love it. You guys probably hating on this change, but let's be real. When you can do 40 to 50,000 damage, if you get a full moon proc in about not even 1 second, because trust me, I've had it happen myself. I got 27% versatility. That's absurd. That's actually absurd. So this is great, that the fact that you can no longer get full moons from Convoke or Feral Frenzy if you're a Feral Druid, because Feral Druids have a crazy Convoke also, right? Stun you, Convoke you, you're pretty much dead. So that's huge. That's huge. I mean, yeah, they're still gonna have the big star surges. Maybe they'll fill in star surges for full moon. But I mean, an 8K star surge to a 17 to 24K to 30K full moon, I'll take that. I mean, we take the wins where we can, right? So I think this is huge for that. That's going to change a lot of the issues that we've been seeing on the ladder, and especially the tournaments where you're just dying in a global. Let's say you just have healed yourself for just a spell, and that 1.5 second global, you're dead, because that's literally how fast Convoke could take to kill you if they catch you in the right time, right? So this, I feel, is going to be really, really good for a lot of players. I think it's going to address a lot of issues with Convoke, but we'll still have to see the actual damage of the procs that do come out of Convoke and see if the proc chances and the damage that comes out of procs are still too high. But at least they are addressing and working on this. So we have to give props to Blizzard Summer, right? We have to give them props somewhere when we see these kind of changes. All right, what do we got next? Mages. Okay, Triune Ward Ledge. Okay, we've talked about this so much on my channel, guys. I don't know how everybody else feels, but we've talked about this a lot. Even though I can dispel, Triune Ward Absorption is so good. So good. All right. So it says Triune Ward Legendary now provides 50% effective barriers with 65% in PvP situations. So that for classes that don't have a dispel and they get this 70% shield for like 70% of their health, right? That's literally what it comes down to. It's like 70% of their health in shields, and they can't dispel it. This is actually huge because it gives them a little bit more time in their burst windows to actually break through this damage and try to land a kill, because mages live so long. But not only that, with the effectiveness being dropped down, that means the healing that comes from the Triune Ward barrier comes down, because it's based on how much they absorb. So if the absorption goes down itself, that means the healing goes down itself, then their mages are a little bit more of a kill target. So versus, mage rogue, RMP versus RMP, this could be good for RMPs, especially fighting other RMPs or RM pallies. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a good change. I personally felt Triune Ward was too strong. as a legendary on top of everything else they got. There's quite a few things I think fire mages need a little bit of a tuning on. Not nothing crazy, but a little bit of tuning on. We've talked about on the channel. I don't hate fire mages. I actually love fire mages. But when you see something, you know when something's busted, guys. You know when something's broken, and this was broken, especially with the combust, which it looks like is the next thing we're talking about. The Infernal Cascade Conduit, guys. This is how they would ramp up that extra damage on their combust windows. The Infernal Cascade. This is huge, guys. 33% effectiveness in PvP situation. I want to say that maybe be a bit high. That might be a little higher than I was expecting. I was expecting like a 20 to 25% nerf on the Infernal Cascade. Maybe they just thought it was too strong, or maybe the percentages, even though it says 33%, maybe the actual percentage difference they didn't feel was enough, or maybe that's where they're starting at and they'll tune it later. But at the end of the day, it needed to be tuned. That made fire mages over the top. On top of everything they had, Triune Ward, low combustion windows, and Infernal Cascade for the combustion windows. This was a well-needed tuning. I'm so glad Blizzard is actually listening to these situations. I think the AWC had a lot to do with these changes that we're looking at right now. But it's good to see that they actually did something to what the community is complaining about, because these are some of the biggest issues that we've been complaining about. So I like this a lot. I really do. I think that's one of the best things that we can go for. These are the two actually I've complained about a lot myself. So I'm glad to see that these changes are coming through. So let's see what we got next, guys. Paladins, it looks like, is next. Oh snap! I kind of read ahead here, but I'm pretty excited about this, guys. So first thing we have here is the Divine Favor Honor talent increased to 30 seconds, was 25, and now the increased cast speed is 30% instead of 60. I didn't care so much about the cooldown. I just thought Divine Favor and their instant healing in general, like Word of Glory, Holy Shocks, I felt like that needed like maybe a 15 to 20% tuning change, because their instant healing is just out the roof. They heal like burst types of healing, especially with the proc wings that they can get. So, you know, I wasn't too upset about that, but I did think Divine Favor needed something, right? And this is, to me, actually seems like a good change. Don't change the healing of it, but change the cooldown and the cast speed of it, and it still heals for a crap ton. That's smart. That's smart. That gives counterplay to dispelling and kicking them. For a Shadow Priest, if I waste the global and then they pop Divine Favor, I don't have enough time to dispel and to dispel it. Like literally, not even just dispel kick or dispel stun, because you can silence them and still dispel them. But let's just say I didn't have any of that. I didn't have enough time to just dispel it in a global. That's how fast the cast was. So this gives time for classes to actually react to the Divine Favor, which I feel is good, because things like this need counterplay. There needs to be counterplay to it. And if you're in a global and they pop Divine Favor, you're not getting the Divine Favor. It's not going to happen. So I feel this is a good thing. So like, you know, they're not going to nerf the healing, but they're going to nerf pretty much the effectiveness of it. So I like this. This is good. This is a good change. I'm glad that at least they get to keep the healing. Let's see here. Prot and Retribution Paladins. It looks like this is the last one. I'm actually surprised. I'll go over what I think should have been added in here. Maybe hopefully they will. But I guess this is the last one on the list. But we got this one looks well deserved. Maybe too low in my opinion. This might be too low. Word of Glory healing has been reduced by 20% in PvP situations from Prot Pallies and Ret Pallies. Okay, that is 100% without a doubt needed in all forms. Like I was thinking a 30%, but hey, you guys are gonna hate me. I'm sure I'm gonna get dislikes. I'm sure I'm gonna get hate comments from you Ret Pallies out there. But if you're a Ret Pally, you're playing a Ret Pally because they're busted. It's that simple. So if you're hating on it, that's because you're just mad that you don't have that extra OP. I'm at 20% full healing. It's fine. That's fine to be that way, guys. I don't blame you. I would like to stay overpowered myself if I could, right? If I can get something that makes me super overpowered as a Shadow Priest, like maybe the Mind Flay Tentacle thing actually just goes to all damage, and that would be overpowered, right? I feel like that'd be overpowered. I would love that. But let's be real. Ret Pallies with the tank legendary, plus their off hands with healing hands, or healing off heals with healing hands. Like, come on. You guys know this thing's busted. This is going to be so good for so many different situations. I am so glad actually this happened to AWC, because this, I promise you, came from the AWC with the Ret Pally healing as much as the Shamans, as their Holy Pallies, pretty much over 60 to 80% of the healing of their healers. That's well needed. I'm glad it's at 20%. I was hoping 30, but I'm glad they're starting low. I can't hate that because I'd rather have smaller frequent changes than extreme like 60% nerf. So this is good. I'm actually really glad they started lower. I can't hate on this. I feel like a 20%, we can see where it lies after these changes go through. And if it still seems too strong, they can adjust it from there. So I'm not hating. This is great. This is a great change. Well needed. Everyone knows this is a well-deserved one. Which means they don't got to touch the Red Paladin's damage. If they stop their off healing, they're not going to live as long, and that's good. That's good. It keeps the game fast paced, keeps the game flowing smoothly instead of these just, oh, you're bursting somebody and then he heals himself. So I like this a lot. All right, so now that we went through these changes, what I feel should have been added into this for sure is Windwalker's damage. Not necessarily their, Rising Ticket is pretty overpowered, yes, but I'm talking about like their Zwen and their Storm Earth and Fire damage. That damage, it's actually ridiculous that they can solo people through their walls and through everything. Like I've seen shamans at 2600 CR getting globaled with Storm Earth and Fire, Zwen, popping their Kyrian ability and just going ham. Just that damage is so strong. It's actually ridiculous to go through wall, Earthen Wall, Astral Swiftness, Iron Bark, Bark Skins, Pally Walls. They kill me through my dispersions, my greater fade, my self heals. They kill me through everything in one set of cooldowns, even with CCing them. Yes, granted, there is a counterplay. We can stop them. We can fear their pets, but they have 2 charges. And it ends up being too much, right? Even if you do pop cooldowns, eventually they're going to catch you with no cooldowns and you're going to die. Now, that being said, even though I think that should have been on there, I do think Windwalkers need a defensive buff. I think they die really quickly. Yeah, they can kite all day, but if they're caught, they die. And, my comp, they can just kite us all day. But some comps, they just can't, right? They can keep up with them. And I do think they do die really quickly. So I think that should be something that should be addressed. I think Windwalkers need a little bit of the defensive buff. Hate me if you will. I do think they are too squishy. Now, on the vice versa end, let's talk about Warriors. I definitely think Warriors need some kind of, I don't know, an intervene needs to be on a longer cooldown. Ignore Pain should be on a longer cooldown, because that 50% absorption for on a 12-second cooldown. I know, it's an X amount, but it's actually huge right now, right? It's actually a huge issue. I feel defensive stance, Ignore Pain, Intervene, War Banner. They have their Stormbolt, they have their kicks. There's so much they had defensively, which is great. I love that they're a very utility class. They're like the Shadow Priest of the melee Shadow Priest, right? So much utility, so much viability, great for their team, but they just have way too much defensive. They have strong upkeep on damage, and they have defenses on a low rotation. A 1-minute die by the sword, like, let's be real, guys, like, that's kind of crazy. So I feel like maybe changing something like that needs to be addressed, because they do have too much. Hate me, Warriors out there, if you will, but I just feel like Warriors have too much, and the ladder shows it. The ladder does show that there needs to be some changes. Another couple changes that I want to talk about that I feel should be addressed here, hopefully, is Wrestle Druids. Wrestle Druids just don't have the throughput healing as some of these other healers. They don't have the upkeep as other healers. The burst meta is really hard for Druids right now to recover, or without going or putting themselves into bad position. So I think Wrestle Druids need some kind of balance tuning. Maybe just give them a 15% healing buff. Flat healing buff across the board. I think maybe not every single ability, but a decent amount of them. They just don't seem to heal all that much right now, especially with the MSs and the burst. It seems like without NS, they just their team just dies. Another one, I think, Mistweavers need something, man. Mistweavers are just, I don't see them at all, and mainly that's just because it's a burst meta. They literally die in a global. I don't really know how they would balance that, to be honest, guys. I just know that it needs to be addressed, because there's no Mistweavers out there. I wish they would tune some of these classes that you just don't see at all. Warlock, for instance, I play with a Warlock, this, but they just, if they didn't have their legendary, and that means they couldn't kite, right? The only reason they're even viable is they can kite for days with the legendary and actually be viable in like shadow play, LSD and such, right? But I think they need a defensive bonus for sure. Their damage is great. I just think there needs to be something defensively that they don't have to kite the entire game. They should be able to soak a little bit of damage. And that's with Affliction and Destro. Like, they both are in my opinion, in a bad spot, but not a bad spot. Like, Destro more than Affliction. Affliction has some easy, great synergy with certain classes that they can push ladder with. But Destro's kind of sitting on the back end right now. So I do think they need to address some of those issues. I mean, that's just off the top of my head what I can think of. Obviously, there's other specs for classes that could be addressed, but I personally think those are the big ones that I see out there. I mean, I could throw in Shadow Priest, don't have a legendary. That's really, really good. Obviously, I use my healing one because I feel like it's the best. But other than that, it's just Cephas, right? Cephas, you can use Twin of the Sun Priestess, but with all the spells out there, you're just not going to have those power infusions up. So, I mean, I can say something from my own class, but I don't think we need much. Right? We're already super good in the meta. We're super good as a class. Nothing's overpowered, but when nothing's underpowered, we just lack a good legendary compared to some classes. That's all. Like, that's all I feel like we need. It's like something cool. Something makes us feel like we have a legendary. But yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of things I could go over, guys. I feel could be addressed for certain classes, but those are the big ones for me. I think need to be addressed right there. But I am glad to see that Blizzard is addressing these and they are noticing that there are issues in the game. And I think they were just waiting for the AWC to be over before they started doing this because they don't want to tune before a tournament. So people have to maybe switch their comps or change the meta before the AWC. So this makes me have hope that this will continue to happen on a weekly basis. Hopefully small, frequent tuning changes, but nothing too crazy. So I'm happy to see this. I hope you guys are happy to see this. Maybe you change you guys to get maybe excited about the game a little bit more. I mean, the game's in the best state I've ever played. I mean, I'm actually enjoying Shadowlands on an immense scale. Not only just the game, but the community. Right? I've had huge support from my communities on both YouTube and Twitch. So for me personally, I love everything that's going on lately, and this just makes everything better. And don't forget Demon Hunters. I didn't forget about you guys. There's just too much to talk about when it comes to Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters, I personally feel, I'm going to throw that out there, need a complete overhaul like how Shadow Priest got an overhaul. I think Demon Hunters toolkit doesn't work that well, and they need a completely different toolkit. But that's just me. I appreciate you guys coming out here. I'll see you guys next time. All right. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Once again, you guys can reach me at twitch.tv/AflobiGaming.